Our next speaker is a business leader with a strong sense of social purpose. Gail is the co-founder of Project Everyone, which is the campaign unit that launched the Sustainable Development Goals, or you may know them as the Global Goals of the United Nations. And she's going to talk to us about how they're all interlinked and how they link to peace. So Gail, the floor is yours.
As ever, it's always lovely to be in one of Salesforce's lovely events. It is true that I founded something called Project Everyone with the filmmaker Richard Curtis. And all we do is obsess about the UN's global goals. Who knows them? And be honest. I've just been honest, I'm terrified. Okay, good. That's like a lot of the room. We made them look colourful and pretty, and because from the outset we wanted these goals to be owned by everyone, right? My company name is Project Everyone. The goals are a project for everyone. When we got them from the United Nations, they did not look like this. Apologies to anyone from the UN in the room. But, you know, creative is not their kind of lead suit. So we coloured them up and made them look fab. And they seem to be successful and people seem to like them. But I think the reason that I love them so much is that they're a plan. Okay, they're a plan to create a world that is safe and stable in a sustainable fashion for everyone. And the thing I think that is really cool about them, and the reason I had a play with the graphic, which you can see around the corner there with the wheel, is you see how they all link together. So when we first launched them, does anyone know how many there are? 17, terrible number. And we were trying really hard to get them down to 15 because they were launched in 2015. And so we thought that would be great, 15 for 2015. But we couldn't persuade the UN to do that. So they became 17. But we designed them into a wheel shape, which made things prettier. But also we got down, and this is a quote from Paul Pullman, who's the current CEO of Unilever, about what is the goal of the goals. You know, you can't possibly start a conversation with someone that I have 17 great things to tell you. So we tried to compress it into, my co-founder Richard Curtis is a filmmaker, and so he said we need a trailer. And so this was the headline on the trailer poster, as it were. The goal of the goals is to eradicate poverty, to reduce inequalities, and to reverse the impacts of climate change. So that was the sort of headline of what we're trying to do with the goals. But what I love about them is that whatever you put in the middle of the wheel, it has this amazing impact on all of the other ones. So knowing the theme of this evening's talks, we put we put goal 16 in the middle, the peace goal. And it's just, don't worry, I'm not going to follow the supermodel and the best teacher in the world by talking through every quadrant, but I do encourage you to go and have a look because it's really interesting and fascinating to me anyway. Maybe I'm just a goal nerd. Peace affects and underpins every single goal in the wheel. And put another way, if you don't have peace, you haven't got a chance of achieving any of the other goals. So whether you're looking at, you know, it's maybe a little more obvious if you're trying to eradicate poverty and there's conflict, then you're going to have not much chance of success. Equally difficult to educate people, goal 4. And we've heard a lot about amazing stories of education, but as you know, Noella, in a conflict zone, you get gunshots 2 kilometers away, it's not possible. But then you look at the other goals, some of the more modern goals, infrastructure, sustainable cities, climate action. None of this is possible if you don't have a basic stability and a basic peace. And, you know, it's interesting if you think about the world's leaders at the moment. Let's not mention the orange one, but he's not creating a peaceful society on any level. He's not in his own country, around the world. And it's having a terrible impact on many of the goals in America and also globally. And I think, you know, I really do encourage you to go and have a look at the circle and read all of them because it's fascinating. And you can put lots of them in the middle and do the same trick. And I suppose the climate one is the most obvious partner to the peace one. To, you know, if we've really ruined the planet, then none of the goals are going to happen. But I think peace is up there in terms of if we're not stable, both in our minds, in our countries, and at a global political level, then we're never going to achieve the goals, which is something we hope to manage to do. So that's my job. But I thought tonight it felt like more of a personal take on peace. So I just wanted to also talk through some things that have inspired me on this theme across the journey of the last few years, because I think it can be really overwhelming. Like Sarah said, we can't all be peace negotiators. You know, we can't all, cause wars to cease. And there are some terrible things going on in the world at the moment. And I think sometimes it is really overwhelming and it spurs you into inaction. And so I just wanted to talk, I'm going to end up talking about refugees as it happens, and just some really incredible actions on the parts of friends of mine that I've come across. But just the personal journey for me was, I don't know, has anybody read this book, What is the What? Oh, great. So there's like loads of people, bar one, who can have a treat. I really recommend you read it, by Dave Eggers, who's a very cool American writer, but he wrote this really off-type book. And I say off-type because it's about a child in Sudan in the conflict era, and it's a fiction but based on a real story, and it's searing. It's searing as a mum. You know, this child was young when he had to flee, and he basically walked across several countries until he could get shipped out to the States for some peace. So that, and I read that about 4 years ago before I started working on the goals. And it just stuck with me. And then I was absolutely astonished and blessed to then meet this chap, or both these people. So I don't know if do you recognize the two people on the right? These are two members of the team refugee. Do you remember the refugee sports team in the Olympics? And so Yusra is a swimmer from Syria who had saved many people on boats because she and her sister were such good swimmers. And then this other chap was a Sudanese athlete. He was a runner. And they both, we put them both on our stage when we launched the goals in 2015 at the UN. And his speech was just amazing. He said, I'm athlete, I'm refugee, but what I want is, he said, I've got food, kind of, I've got shelter, I really want a job. And, it was just really stuck with me that the whole aid model is really important to get people out of absolute crisis, but to build a sustainable, lasting peace, you need education for sure, and actually he credited that. But then people want a job, to feel like a citizen, to be recognized for who they are. And I have loads of examples since then, and maybe I'm just noticing them, of friends who are, I've got a huge curator of big art exhibitions, and she currently runs the Paris Opera, but she was doing a side project with people who'd been displaced from Damascus, but who were incredible artists, and so she was going into different camps and giving them very small commissioning budgets to make art, just to remind them who they were, and that people noticed them and wanted to work from them and hear from them as artists. And so I just want, and I know there's a few, but I just wanted to pull out a couple of really live examples now. So there's an organization called 2.org, which is run by a dear friend of mine who's a Senegalese Swiss chap, and he's lucky. He's really lucky. He's from a really wealthy family. He has not known conflict. He's fine. But what he's doing with his life is going into places that aren't fine, and I've just pulled out a couple of them. He's harnessing his community, right? He's young, he's attractive, he knows loads of famous people. But what he's doing is he's driving this ice cream van into camps in Uganda, in Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh, and many others in Africa particularly. And they're creating mini enterprises so that they can give people jobs and give people identity and give people hope. So the lady up there, I should have worn it. Amateur, making really brilliant necklaces that Naxon then takes out around his big celebrity network friends and important businesses and gives them at weddings and sells them in different places. And so he's providing a real stream of income for the ladies of Cox's Bazar, but also providing a really great talking point outside of Cox's Bazar so people can remember that there are people in the world who are living in these conditions and they need work and they need help. And then down here, this is one of my favorites. In Uganda, he has organized a scheme whereby people collect plastic bags, which are a problem. They then stuff them into plastic bottles, which are also a problem. But and they're getting paid to do this. And then what is created are these bricks called bottle bricks that they then build latrines, they build schools, they build houses, light lift in terms of building materials, cleaning up a problem, getting paid to do it, and then creating a lasting legacy. And there's loads of these projects. They're inspiring, and I just thought, wow, that's just one guy decided to do that, and there's this incredible impact. And then this is my last one. And you can all, it's nearly Christmas, we're all buying presents for people. This is this was founded by a lady who lives in Geneva, actually Geneva-based, and she was a hedge funder. And the bank she was making millions for wanted to give away some money as CSR, so she was on a trip to see how they could do that. And she ended up in a camp called SEP in Jordan, which was full of Palestinian refugees. And she was offering them money, and she said it was just incredible. They didn't want CSR money. they said, we want jobs. We really want to be doing something. We don't just want to be taking money because then you're gone and then it's gone. So she set up Sep Jordan, which is just the most wonderful stuff, like scarves, cushion covers, throws. And I just bought one for a friend, actually, who is going through an illness, and she's in recovery, and I bought one as a symbol of female resilience, because I thought this story just said it all to me. You were talking about women, supporting women, but I just thought this was a woman who'd seen a need and had then totally pivoted her whole career to set up this ongoing, now I think they employ 300 artisans, mainly ladies, some men, and we're taking it, we're bringing it to Davos with us. So everybody can do something. That's my message. Even if you're not a supermodel, best teacher in the world, we can all find ways to promote peace. Just so obsessed with how great your dress is. But thank you very much for having me, and check out Sep Jordan.